We could make a difference, you and I.
You have to stop!
Near the coast, the crew of a fishing boat is busy working. After the captain throws a plastic bottle into the water, the men are shocked to hear a loud roar. Suddenly, something starts moving and screeching inside the fishing net. A terrifying creature comes out of the pile of fish, and the captain fires his weapon. In London, Barclay is suddenly awakened by his phone vibrating. However, it's not his usual phone. He has to run to his dresser to get his work phone. Barclay works for the United Nations Intelligence Task Force, also known as UNIT. After seeing the message, he rushes to wake up his son, Kirby, and explains that he has been called for an urgent work task, so they will have to stay with their mother for a while. Sergeant Hannah picks up Barclay and isn't happy when she finds out he wants to drop off their son first. During the trip, Kirby asks why their father knows a soldier, so Barclay makes up an excuse about security at work because Kirby doesn't know his real job. His ex-wife, Barbara, greets Kirby happily, but she is angry at Barclay for always putting his job before others. When Barclay returns to the car, Hannah tells him that his mission is to replace Agent Roger, who is currently on another assignment. They arrive at a private airport and board a plane where General Austin shares their itinerary. The mission details are on their tablets, but no matter how many times Barclay tries to open them, the system denies him access. Thinking Barclay might have typed the password wrong, Pip shows him a video of a strange creature attacking the person behind the camera. Feeling close to panic, Barclay tells Pip that he once replaced Roger in 2020 when he had to leave suddenly because his wife had a premature birth. He only had to answer Roger's phone, which never even rang. Since then, Barclay has been on the system as Roger's replacement. However, he is just an administrative clerk, not an agent. Pip realizes he showed the video to someone without proper clearance and immediately stops talking to him. The plane takes the group away from the island, where a helicopter picks them up and transports them to Cala Escondida. There, a team of unit soldiers has already set up camp and is preparing their weapons. Soon, the group reaches a building at the edge of the village, and Austin explains that the villagers didn't want it too close to their homes. When they enter, everyone goes through decontamination before meeting the colonel, who introduces them to the monster that the fisherman killed. The creature was hung up on the wall in hopes of making money as an attraction. The unit saw the posts online and called it a hoax before flying here to take charge of the situation. Austin nicknames it Homo Aqua, but a scientist corrects him, stating its scientific name is Homo Spondyle. She has found a pearl at the base of the creature's neck, matching all the homospondyles the unit encountered before. However, they still don't know what the pearl is for. Austin asks the scientist to put the pearl back and suggests the creatures might have received it at birth. He also sends everyone out to investigate. Before leaving, Barclay looks at the homospondyle and crosses himself. On the clifftop, the group joins the soldiers, and Austin wonders why a homospondyle is in an area with little depth. The colonel reminds him of the underwater avalanche from 2020, which cut off communication cables and blames it on these creatures. Then they use a machine to send out a signaling translation pulse, which is so high-pitched that it makes Barclay tremble. Now they have to wait for a response. That night, Barclay asks if he can make a call, but Hannah says they can't use their phones yet. Barbara has messaged him several times about issues with Kirby's school, and she scolds him for caring more about his job. Meanwhile, Pip and another soldier are on night guard duty for the homospondyle body. While they chat, they take a few steps and notice the ground is covered in mud. At first, they think it's just a leak, but suddenly the soldier starts sinking, and they realize the entire ground has turned into mud. Pip tries to get as close as he can to help her, but she can't reach his hand, and he's also starting to sink. Eventually, her whole body goes under the water and she drowns. As the water reaches Pip's waist, he calls for help on the radio, but the soldiers only hear static. Soon, a creepy hand grabs Pip's shoulder and tries to drown him too. Then, a homospondyle jumps out of the hole and takes the body of the dead creature. At that moment, an alarm goes off and the team runs to the building, only to find it empty. The floor is back to normal, but Barclay notices a piece of metal stuck in it. He pulls it until a whole chair comes out. Austin tries to call Pip and the other soldier, but the answer is just static. He keeps trying until he hears his own voice coming from the floor. Everyone rushes to dig and they see a hand. Barclay is shaken by the sight of a dead body, so he goes outside for fresh air. When Austin checks on him, Barclay finally tells him that he's just a clerk. However, Austin is okay with this because the rules say that at times of historical, political, or cultural impact, a civilian must stand with the military team as a witness. Hannah admits she's frustrated because it took her years to get important missions like this, but Barclay got it by mistake. She also shares that the homospondyles were on Earth before humans and appeared while the creatures were hibernating underground. The planet eventually reformed and sealed them in. In fact, UNIT was created to deal with these kinds of supernatural events. Hannah wonders if the Homospondials are attacking because they want the planet back. Their conversation is interrupted when a soldier announces that a Homospondal has been seen on the coast. Everyone rushes to the spot and Barclay is given a camera to record everything. Austin makes everyone put their guns down as a Homospondal comes out of the water and screeches at them. Using the translator, Austin offers a kind welcome and asks for a diplomatic meeting. When the creature points out that humans have killed their kind, Austin replies that the Homospondials have killed humans too, so he wants everyone to drop the violence and start a friendship. The creature agrees but also disagrees, and the translator can't fully understand the meaning. Suddenly, more Homospondials come out of the water, and the soldiers get scared. Austin tells them again that they're here in peace, and the leader Homospondile agrees. After that, Austin asks the leader to repeat the sentence, and the translation says, "We are talking to the whole world right now." Suddenly, everyone gets an emergency alert on their phones about a major invasion. All over the world, people are shocked to see the Homospondials coming out of the seas in large numbers. As phone videos spread online, reporters cover the story non-stop. World leaders start the H2O diplomacy initiative and build a canal leading into the Imperial House, where peace talks will take place. Barclay goes home and tells Barbara that she'll have to take care of Kirby a little longer. He says it's because of an important promotion and sends her £3,000 to her bank account to keep her calm. Later, important military leaders gather at the Imperial House to start the peace talks. When a paparazzi drone gets too close to the window, a guard shoots it down. Luckily, the windows are made of one-way glass, so the drone couldn't take any pictures. Roger bursts into the main room and shouts at Barclay for taking his spot at such an important event, but the soldiers quickly kick him out. The engineers then turn on the water system to start filling the tank. It works for a while, but then a pipe breaks. The team runs to fix the pipe and redirect the water, so the tank is ready just in time. Soon, 4 Homospondials come in, followed by 2 Pisomorphas and a more human-like creature named Homorpha. Assigned as an ambassador, Hines greets them, and the machine translates, but he's interrupted by the Homorpha. Her name is Salt, and she can speak all human languages. Hines ends his welcome speech by mentioning a plant that grows on Mount Everest, the highest point on Earth. Salt responds by having her guards drop the dead eggs of her unhatched children and explains that they died because of human pollution. She refuses to accept Hines as an ambassador and says she'll only talk to Barclay. Everyone is confused about what's happening. Salt brings up that Barclay showed respect for her people and touches her pearl to play a clip of him crossing himself. She asks him to be the ambassador for the human race. After a lot of denial and hesitation, he finally says, "Okay." Hines announces the meeting is over, and guards take Barclay away immediately. Unit Commander Kate meets him in a private room and asks if he ever had contact with the Homospondials. He swears he didn't. Kate warns him that her intelligence team is checking his whole life and family. In fact, some soldiers are taking Barbara and Kirby. Barclay says he didn't want this to happen, but also mentions that the unit needs him right now. When Hines leaves the building, reporters surround him, but he refuses to comment on his dismissal. The internet gets very upset because a secret civilian has taken over humanity's representation, and some people say strange creatures shouldn't have power over human politics. The Prime Minister is also unhappy and asks Kate to tell Salt that they don't approve of their choice. In the Imperial House, Kate tells Salt that the committee wants her to trust Hines. Salt says she talks about trust but insists on meeting her privately and wants to talk to Barclay. He nervously joins Kate at the front and says he isn't an expert, but Salt wants him for his kindness, not his skills. She asks him what he really wants, not what the committee told him to say. So, he admits he thinks it's time for civilians to have a voice too, because this affects everyone. Salt agrees and threatens to end the talks if Barclay doesn't present tomorrow. Afterward, Barclay is taken to an armored vehicle where he sees Kate. He wonders if she'll kill him, but she shows him her gun and says she's joking. Kate explains she's worked hard to build a better world for everyone and wants them to work together for peace. Barclay is then taken to the diplomatic hotel, where General Dominic secretly takes a picture of him in a private room. Barclay comes back together with his family, and they act surprised when they find out about his new job. Kirby finds it exciting, but Barbara is concerned about her job and Kirby missing school. Barclay believes this historical event is very important and calls Salt beautiful, which makes Barbara tease him. Kate and her team look closely at everything Salt said. She kept repeating the word "we" during her speech, so they start wondering if these beings might share a common mind. When Salt took a breath to smell the plant, her group did the same thing at the same time, even the fish. She also started using softer language and some sarcasm. At the lab, two scientists start scanning the dead eggs. They also take some samples, and one of them sneaks one into his pocket. Later that evening, the scientist meets Sir Keith and gives him the sample in exchange for his citizenship, but he gets upset when he realizes the deal doesn't include his mother. After that, Keith meets with Dominic and another general to hand over the sample. He works in the energy industry, and the H2O initiative could hurt his business. Dominic says they ran a simulation and there's a risk of a recession, and people are already getting scared. The US president wants to keep the economy stable, while Keith wants to protect his companies. Kate might have a lot of influence over the Prime Minister, but Keith tells his friends that in the end, the Prime Minister will listen to him because he's the biggest donor. That night, Kate gets a message saying the media found out about Barclay's identity. The next morning, reporters are waiting for him outside the hotel, and he needs extra soldiers to protect him. Kate asks her team to look into it, and they quickly find out that Dominic leaked the photo. To calm the press, Kate agrees to let 50 reporters in the hall but not allow live broadcast. When the meeting starts, the guards tell Dominic she's been banned and kick her out. Barclay is shaking, and Kate and Austin give him as much advice as they can in just a few minutes. The tank is filled up again, and Salt comes back with her guards. Barclay greets her, then Kate reminds him to read the speech they had prepared for him. He apologizes for what happened to the eggs, and Salt asks if he has kids. After he says yes, she accepts his apology. Salt then asks for a glass of water from the river and refuses to speak again until she gets it. The soldiers run to the river and bring a glass of water, but it's very brown. Salt asks Barclay to drink it, but Kate immediately stops him because it could be dangerous. Her team writes a message to make him say that the government knows about the pollution crisis and is working on it. However, Salt interrupts and tells him she wants his real words, not just political talk. Kate insists he should follow the script, but Barclay takes off his earpiece. He admits that society is foolish and that the planet is on the edge of destruction. He gets angry and talks about how humans go through their daily lives, thinking it's not their problem or their fault. He says the kids know and he wants to start listening to them today. Salt says Barclay is her favorite human and that makes him laugh. However, Austin and Hannah are not impressed. After the meeting, many civilians are cheering for Barclay outside the hotel. He tells his family he feels great and they are proud of him. He admits to Kirby that he wishes he had listened to them sooner. On TV, reporters keep talking about him and call him passionate. Barbara asks about Salt, and Barclay realizes she's jealous. Meanwhile, Austin tells Kate that the H2O committee has developed new models for environmental laws. He also tells her that the French government wants Dominic to be allowed in the hall. Kate says they have proof of her betrayal, but Dominic has a lot of influence, so they have no choice. The team is now studying mycelium networks, which are fungal threads that connect certain plants. They think that's what the homospondyles might be using to communicate in the pearl, as it's a connection point. That night, Barclay looks at classified pictures of what the homospondal cities used to look like before humans came in. Kirby interrupts him because they can't sleep and admits they're worried about his safety. Barclay assures them he'll be fine and reminds them that they'll be moved to a safe house tomorrow. The next morning, reporters surround Barclay again, and he barely gets to avoid them. A new meeting begins and Barclay informs Salt that the government promises a 50% reduction of contamination by 2065. Salt wants to know why it'll take so long, so Barclay explains it will take time to gather the resources to tackle the problem. Salt says that 40 years is unacceptable and Barclay points out they've waited for millions of years, so 40 more isn't much. This angers Salt, who starts listing all the ways contamination has hurt her people. Barclay gets nervous and apologizes. Salt believes him, but she knows the world leaders don't mean it. When Barclay tries to convince her that humanity's greatest desire is to fix things, Salt replies that she shall grant it. Suddenly, the sky gets dark and thunder rumbles. A strange noise makes people think a storm is coming, but actually it isn't water. Plastic is now falling from the sky in horrifying quantities all over the world. People on the streets panic and run to find protection. Barbara tells her driver to take them away from there. Kate's team notices that plastic is floating in the seas and rivers. As all the leaders are being taken out of the area, Kate asks Salt to stop the plastic rain, but Salt says they're just cleaning up the mess that humanity has made. Barclay calls Barbara and tells her to come to the Imperial House. The driver is trying to find a clear path, but the plastic is clogging most of the streets. Suddenly, a big object falls on the car's hood, breaking the engine and injuring the driver. Barbara tells her child to run, so Kirby gets out of the car and has to dodge a rolling tire. Barbara checks on the driver, but he's already dead. She calls Barclay and asks him to find Kirby on the street. Then she starts running too. Barclay runs outside and looks for Kirby. He notices that they're going to be hit by a falling anchor, so Barclay tackles Kirby to save them just in time. Barbara joins them, and the whole family runs to hide in the Imperial house. Austin sees this event as the Homospondials declaring war. All TV channels around the world are reporting on the plastic rain, and people online say the Homospondials want humans to die. All governments announce that the streets are unsafe and tell their citizens to stay indoors. Eventually, the plastic rain stops, and now all the trash from the ocean, including the Titanic, covers every city in the world. The damage is in the hundreds of billions. However, the government says they are already preparing for repairs. A former political leader says this incident is a call to unite against the Homospondials. During the next meeting, Barclay tells Salt that they approached the Congress in good faith, but their actions have put the diplomatic process at risk. He says they don't want war, but Salt claims the war started long ago, and humans began it, so she is simply returning what is theirs. More unclear political words appear on the screen, and Barclay decides to ignore them again. He admits that the Homospondials are smarter than humans and understand their worries. Now, people are hurt and scared, and when humans are scared, they do bad things. Kate makes him read again, so Barclay says the United Nations wants a peace agreement for these talks. Salt agrees but adds 3 conditions. First, pollution of the oceans and waterways must stop right away. Second, there needs to be a clear border setup, which means the Homospondials want all the oceans and waterways. People can't travel on ships because they evolved to live on land. She also says the sky is off limits and planes are not allowed, explaining that the air above the ocean is part of the ocean too. Leaders in the audience start getting very nervous and explain that the modern world depends on imports, including food. But Salt refuses to listen to anyone who isn't Barclay and shouts at them to stop. Suddenly, her body changes into a male body with a male voice. Barclay apologizes and tells everyone to sit down and be quiet. While Salt goes back to her original body, Barclay explains that people are scared of what they don't understand, but they don't mean to be offensive. Then Salt asks for the 3rd condition by touching her pearl, making a map appear on every screen. A spot in the middle of the ocean is marked, and Barclay realizes she wants the rest of the meetings to take place underwater. Salt wants them to show their commitment to peace and equality by meeting in their world. Kate's team studies the spot and finds out it's the Romans Trench, one of the deepest parts of the planet. It's 25,000 feet and 5 miles deep. Submarines have even exploded at less than half that depth. Kate asks Barclay not to answer, but he tells Salt that he agrees to all her requests. Subscribe to watch more videos like this, leave a comment about your favorite movie, and we will make it next. Thanks for watching.